welcome to Stephen University. This week in our hiatus content, we're going to be taking a look at the Dove. What are they called? What's the campaign called? The Self Esteem campaign that they've done over the course of this year. They've released 4 videos. We'll get to those in a minute. But while I remember, Chris, because I've been meaning to talk about this for about 15 episodes of this show, I'm pretty sure.
Whoa. And you just assume there's going to be enough time in the Dove campaign episode for you to go on a fucking random other tangent?
I know, there is obviously so much content in the Dove campaign that I definitely don't have the time to...
It's not... Because the way you said it slightly, today we're going to be talking about the Dove campaign. You could just almost hear people go, "Oh Jesus, they're stretching." For me, it's not just a Dove campaign. It's a general sort of, how the show helps with self-confidence and stuff. Discussion.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a little research, mate.
It was worth chatting about. I'm not dismissing the topic, but I've remembered. I've forgotten so many times that if I don't do it now, it's just never going to happen. So bear with me. Let me be self-indulgent for just a minute, Chris, if that's okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to talk about soap, but carry on.
So, Jesus. We have spent a lot of time on the show doing Triv when we were in the main series, Chris. And there were a lot of times when we mocked the Triv. Well, let's be fairer. When I mocked the Triv, it was a running joke that I was sort of displeased that some of the stuff they considered trivia, some of it was either wishy-washy or it was just things that happened in the episode, which is like, that's not trivia, that's just what I watched. Or some that were just like unverifiable, or like there was a lot of weird sort of trivia in there. And then there were some things that I was told after we reviewed the episode that was trivia that weren't in there at all. So the trivia needed fixing. So apparently one of our listeners, and I don't know if it was based on our moanings or not, Bianca, who is in the Discord group. Hello, Bianca.
Hey, Bianca.
There you go. Who I think we referenced before, but not for this, which is annoying. Went back and culled, absolutely culled the Steven Universe Wikia, much to the I believe displeasure of the people who run that page. Apparently they've restored chunks of it, but there was a whole chunk of time in which there was like controversy in the Steven Universe Wikia community, I believe. My understanding of it is that it ruffled some feathers, Chris. And while not all of it has been restored, some of it has. Therefore, I would describe that as a successful cull. That like the fact that any of that bullshit has now been removed and has not come back is amazing. If she managed to clear one piece of Triv that was nonsense, then she's a hero.
Well done, Bianca. That's incredible.
So I just want to thank properly on the podcast the person who did that. And I don't know if it was necessarily like on our behalf, but I feel like I get the impression these were things that Bianca was already annoyed about, and then we were also moaning about them, which I think brought it back up. Maybe I never got the full story about what the impetus behind it was. I think it would be arrogant for us to assume it was anything to do with us. Really, I've got to assume that she already felt that way.
That's what I mean. Are you thanking Bianca, or are you trying to shift the blame in case anyone's assuming you've done this?
Yeah, that's what it was. The Wiki community were mad at me, so now I'm just making sure they know who it really was. No, they
don't know who we are, Dan.
I want to thank her for being a purveyor of sense and logic, and actually going to the trouble of doing that. I think that's incredible, regardless of like whether we had any impact on it at all. I still think it deserves being singled out and praised for just doing the right thing. It was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
There's some real bullshit in
nice.
those trivias. So yeah, there you go. Got that out of the way.
There you go. Well done, Bianca.
No.
So let's chat Dove, Dan.
Let's chat Dove.
Do you use Dove?
I do. I've got I don't use the Dove like soaps. I've got a Dove like what do you call it? Like a shaving balm.
Oh. Fancy.
Well, it's just because, like, when I electric shaved most of my life, Chris, and then I got a couple of years ago, I I switched to wet shaving.
I think wet shaving's a lot better.
It is better. I like the ritual of it for some reason. It's weird. I don't know why. I just prefer it.
I just think it gets rid of the hair a bit better. It's not some sort of tribal ritual shit that you got going on. Like
there's something about
you get a closer shave.
There's something about the no, you do get a closer shave, which is the main reason I initially started doing it. But I found that I just quite enjoy sort of like the process. Not the process is the wrong word. There's like there's just like I don't know. There's just steps to it. It just feels like the right thing to do. I don't know. It's hard to explain. There is something about the process that I quite enjoy. But I found that because I electric shaved most of my life, my skin no likey the blade. It's not like I don't get massive red marks like a few of my friends do, but it can irritate the skin. So I've got like a shaving balm that I put on afterwards, and that solves that problem outright. It's not a huge issue, but it's a mild one. So that's the perfect solution to my slightly, because what basically happens is I'll shave and then I'll have slightly red skin under my chin for like a couple hours. That's basically the problem. But Dove's product solves that outright, Chris.
Nice. I tend to use Dove or sometimes Simple. I like showering with a soap though. I'll do it if I'll shower with shower gel if I've gone to the gym. Because obviously, it's not logistical to take a bar of soap into the gym. But if I'm showering at home, I like to go to town with a bar of soap.
See, I'm not a big. I don't even think I have a bar of soap in my home right now.
Oh,
we have like when we for the hand basin where you wash your hands. There's like a dispenser of like a not a shower gel, but like a hand soap, like a hand sanitizer.
That was empty last time I came round. I was just nipping into your shower and nicking your shower gel to wash my hands.
Really, it's full now. Nadia likes to buy those ones that smell of sweets.
Well, it's not a criticism. I just it's an observation. Next time I come round, put a bit of effort. That's all I'm saying.
My soap dispenser is a TARDIS.
Oh, that's good. You both got separate soap dispensers?
No. I just mean like the one we have at my house is a TARDIS.
Oh right, yeah. No, I know.
Well, I'm sorry it was empty on the occasion you came last.
Much like the Doctor's TARDIS early on this season. Wasn't working last time I came around.
And then I'm a shower gel guy. So
yeah, I don't know. I feel like you get better clean with the bar. And I feel like I think maybe it just feels a bit lazier. Feels like the soap's doing a lot of the work.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I've got a question to ask you, Chris. What the toss has any of this got to do with Steven Universe?
Well. So Dove and Cartoon Network. Yes. So I think we've set up how we feel about soap and Dove in general, and our use of Dove, which is good context. Dan.
It's good that it's good that we both have a position on Dove as a subject.
They've came up with a campaign which has been out a while. I don't know what's happened recently, but if you celebrity figures have been posting about it on Instagram. It must have got posted somewhere because Jess sent me a link about it and is now really thrilled that we're discussing it on the podcast. She's like, "Oh, what are you discussing this week?" I was like, "Oh, the Dove campaign." She was like, "Oh, you're discussing something I suggested." I'm like, "I don't think you realise the Scrabble for content during hiatus season." But
it's worth knowing that this campaign started back in March. It's been going all year.
Well, exactly. I looked it up and I was like, "Oh shit, this campaign's been going ages." So I don't know if they've suddenly put some money maybe into like boosting it on social media or paying for people, but like Giovanna Fletcher, who's quite a big social media personality, posted about it, and I saw some other articles.
Is this Self Esteem campaign covering other shows, or is it specifically Dove and Steven Universe?
The reference, the post I saw on Instagram from the aforementioned Giovanna Fletcher only mentioned Steven Universe, and I've only seen links regarding Steven Universe, so I may be wrong. But the landing page for it says there's so much more to our bodies than how they look. We've teamed up with Steven Universe to build body confidence and self-esteem. And then there's 3 episodes and a song.
I was going to say there's 4 videos in total. Should we talk about each of them in turn? I think that's maybe the way to structure it.
Yeah.
So the first one released was about bullying, about appearance-related sort of teasing and bullying. and that was the one released in like March this year, and it has Amethyst and Jasper in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing this when there was an episode that streamed, and I watched it streamed, and then in the ads of it, this video played. I had no idea it was there. So this is probably, I would say this is, I don't know, sort of, it'll be around, I guess around April this year is probably when I would have come across it. And then I didn't see any of the other ones until yesterday. Actually,
really?
That's not true. I had seen the one with the song, but the Sardonyx one and the most recent one, the Peridot one, I knew they'd been released, but I just hadn't got around to looking at them. So I watched those yesterday, which is bad. But yeah, go on, sorry.
I thought teasing and bullying one. So the premise is that Jasper's bullying Amethyst, and then they talk about it, but they're filming an advert, so it kind of breaks the wall down a bit. And what I really loved about that is, and don't forget, there's a bit. It's like this tangent will be no more than a minute. There's a bit in The Writer's Tale, which is a book by Russell T Davies talking about his writing for Doctor Who, where for a show that gave people like made dreams and wishes come true, the show had promised someone that they would get to be in a scene in the TARDIS for Doctor Who, but the monster they had to create a monster for this, and Russell T Davies just felt that he couldn't make the monster canon, so instead he wrote a scene where the monster was in the TARDIS playing with John Barrowman, and then David Tennant came in as David Tennant, not the Doctor, and was like, "What are you doing? This is my TARDIS." So technically it was a scene with the Doctor, and it was a scene on the TARDIS, but it wasn't canon at all. And I feel like they were doing the same thing with this. By giving it the advert setting, it meant that you could have Jasper without getting into a load of complications about where Jasper was, because none of the other characters would bully. So you have a character that does bully, but you set it in a scenario that allows for you to talk straight to camera, that allows for Jasper to be there. I thought it was quite clever.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think that doing it in that setting sort of allows the characters to interact in a way that's like, because obviously in terms of being canon, like Jasper's current status is bubbled, right? Like, so it's how would you in canon find a way to do that without stepping on the toes of the show? And also, like, they've chosen a very different animation style for these, which I think also gives it a degree of separation to the actual show, but still gets the points across, which I think is exactly what they need to do. In terms of like their overall decision making on putting these together, I think they're really brilliantly done. I think they have this weird sort of like Paper Mario animated style to them, which I think really suits the designs. I was pleasantly surprised by how they put that together. And I also think, like, I kind of think it's a strange choice. But actually, before we get to the overall analysis of each specific video's content, do you think it's an odd choice for Dove to have gone to Steven Universe in terms of global recognition? I acknowledge that if you were going to find a show to talk about self-esteem, Steven Universe is probably the only show that would come to your mind, like, for this. If you wanted sort of something that aims at kids and talks about that, I think Steven Universe does a really wonderful job of both. The creators of the show both know how to talk to kids, and they understand a lot of these concepts about self-esteem because they've dealt with it in the show. So I think it makes an absolute boatload of sense from a content perspective. But from a practical marketing perspective, this is surely more beneficial to Steven Universe than it is to Dove. Like, I found it really strange. Steven Universe is not that recognisable. It's not Adventure Time. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think one, potentially that would have made it more cost effective and less of a challenge to achieve.
Sure.
Two, I think that it depends. We kind of know how well known Steven Universe is on a general sense, but for kids, it depends solely on its, how well known it is with kids and how well known it is with that audience. Because my assumption is that this is Dove trying to branch out and reach a new audience in that way as well. And I think it's got quite a niche audience that Dove potentially feels it's not hitting, maybe. So I see what you're saying. It's probably not going to make a huge splash, but that doesn't mean it's not going to achieve what Dove wants it to achieve.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there you go. That's me put to bed.
I wasn't trying to do that.
No, I know. I'm kidding. I'm absolutely kidding. No, that makes sense. I think you're right as well. I think maybe I'm looking at it too much as like a marketing campaign, and maybe that's not really what they're actually going for. Maybe it is genuinely as sincere as it seems on the surface. Maybe I'm looking for, like the cynical person I am, looking for the underlying. How does this benefit Dove?
But because it's not got a huge audience, because maybe the animated, it benefits. If it was quite cost effective for Dove, then it does work as a marketing campaign, because you kind of go, well, we're not spending too much of our budget on this, so why not give it a go?
Yeah.
The more interesting element of the Dove element for me is fair play to them for not. And I know that I believe Dove have done some other adverts and stuff which kind of sent negative messages. I think one in particular which was really bad was Dove, but I don't know that. I'm 90% sure, but that. I'm not going to slander a company when there's 10% of me not sure. So go look into Dove's advertising if that is the case.
Oh wow!
But in terms of this, fair play to Dove for not really making the videos adverts for Dove. Like,
no,
at no
it's
point
not.
do they.
No point does Amethyst be like, I'm gonna go get in the shower now. Pass me the Dove. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Fair play to them for that. I thought that was, this is no Krispy Kreme in the Power Rangers movie. This is like,
oh mate, nothing is Krispy Kreme in the Power Rangers movie.
That's very true. But this seems to be just very genuine and
it does
a neat little idea.
In the videos, it comes across really sincere. While we're on the subject of the videos, then let's have a look through them. So the first one is the teasing and bullying one with Jasper and Amethyst. I think it's the most straightforward of these. Basically, Jasper is is just insulting Amethyst, and Amethyst is like not at all hurt by any of it, because she's sort of showing how strong she is, basically. And then Jasper sort of comes to her senses a little bit, and they have a pretty frank conversation about, you either being the person using words that can hurt and being aware of it. Because that's what I liked most about this one, actually, was not that it just looks at being strong in the face of somebody using this kind of bullying on you, but actually what I think was really cool was that it also looked at it from the perspective of Jasper, where they go like, and if you think you're using words like that, then maybe you need to be, rethink like how you're talking to people. Maybe you're hurting their feelings and like that.
That was my favorite bit of this one.
Yeah, because I think that's actually really clever, not just to go, hey, you're the victim of bullying, get over it. Well, no, not that they're ever going to be saying that, but you know what I mean? Like, you're the victim of bullying, be strong, don't rise to it, like, be better than it, basically. We'd have to message you here 10 million times a day. I actually think it's even cleverer to go after the bully and say, hey, don't be a dick. Which isn't how they phrase it, obviously, but that is the ultimate sort of boiled down what they're achieving with this video, and I think that's a really powerful message. So I think it's a really great video.
It feels like Jasper goes on a bit of a journy and learns something,
which is nuts in 1 minute. It's a minute long,
exactly. And again, what I said earlier, like I really loved the framing for this one. And to be fair, that framing of we're making adverts stretches across all of them, but I think it's particularly powerful and effective in this one.
Yeah, I would agree.
So the next one is competing and comparing looks. So we see Smoky Quartz and Sardonyx. Discover how unique they are.
Yeah, this one seems to have been released in July, from what I can tell.
Okay. What I love about this one was obviously it's fun to see Smoky Quartz and Sardonyx, but also it's like a real, again, for only a minute, it is very much a little story, which will make more sense when I talk about the next one. But what I like about this is you have them together, then Smoky Quartz realizes she's not that confident, gets upset, goes off. And then Sardonyx goes, talks to her, explains how she struggles with her looks and how on earth is she obviously better. That's not a thing. She kind of comes round to it, and then Sardonyx can't get out the room, and there's kind of a cheeky joke. This one probably does the most with the time, and is the most complete story of them all as well. I really like this one.
Yeah. It's interesting for me because Smoky Quartz is quickly becoming one of my favorite fusions. sorry, Slaughter Round, who isn't particularly fond of Smokey. And I can't decide though whether it's the character that I'm really fond of, because I really like that combination of Steven and Amethyst, or if it's just that I think Natasha Lyonne is one of my favorite voice actresses going. Like, having just watched the most recent season of Orange Is the New Black, within the last month or so, and just hearing her voice here, I don't know. There's just something really. It's perfect casting as well. Like, she is those two characters together. Like, she's got the slight raspiness of Amethyst, but she's also got the innocence of Steven in her voice. I could not imagine them casting this better. Like, there isn't another person to voice this character. So maybe there's just a general love for the character that drives me on this one. But I'm annoyed at myself I didn't see this one when it launched. I don't know if I just didn't know about it or missed it, or whether I did but just didn't get time and then forgot about it. I'm not really sure. But yeah, this one is probably my favorite one, and I think the message of this one's really clever as well, because it's sort of about understanding what you're good at and not judging yourself against others, which I think is really interesting, because I think, I hear it all the time. People just their standards are not their own standards. They're the standards they put themselves up on based on what other people are doing. It's like, oh, I haven't done this yet. It's like, yeah, that's fine. It's okay you haven't done this yet. That'll happen. And it's like, yeah, but my friend has done it. My friend has achieved this by the age of whatever. And I'm like, you don't. What do you care? Like, this person did this thing. Like, don't worry about it. Like, you focus on you and doing your thing, and like being confident enough to understand that, like, everyone, one, works at different levels, but two, like, has different strengths and weaknesses. Like, that's
big
not
one.
Go on.
A big one for me is, and this is, I fully appreciate, and I've felt this way. So I don't want people to say, well, that's easy for you to say because you're engaged or whatever. But it's when people are like, oh, everyone else has got a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I really want to find someone. I completely 100% get that. But the key thing to remember is that once you find that person that you're going to be with forever, it won't matter how long you waited.
No.
If you waited till 29, 30 to find that person, they will be worth the wait because they're that person. So
if you waited to 60 to find that person,
sorry?
If you waited to 60 to find that person, it will be worth the wait.
Yeah, and I fully appreciate, but I suppose the specific element of that feeling, because I fully appreciate why you'd be upset, and I'm not saying don't be upset about that, but don't be upset because other people have found that person earlier.
Precisely.
And a lot of the time as well, people are pointing to relationships which are clearly like oh, they're in a relationship, yeah, but that person's a dick. So if you're waiting for someone, I promise you they'll be worth the wait.
Yeah,
a message from.
A little message from Nothing But Static. I think what's really good about this one is that's the amazing thing, is we've taken a whole sort of sidestep of conversation there based on the very small idea put forward in this episode, in this little short.
Yeah.
But in actuality, this covers a gambit of stuff. So it's not just body image stuff, which is what this episode focuses on. It's a general concept of you should not be judging yourself against others. You should be judging yourself against you and your own standards and your own requirements, and not worrying about what everyone else is doing. You know what I mean? And it's not, because comparing yourself is never going to, because you're always going to find someone who's achieved more than you, and you're going to ignore all the people that have achieved less than you. I know that sounds really mean, but do you know what I mean? It's like that thing they say of like when you get like, you can have 100 comments of good feedback under a YouTube video, and then there'll be like one negative one, and that's the one you'll remember. That's the one that will stop you from getting out of bed that morning. Do you know what I mean? So it's the same thing, whereas like there'll be that one friend of yours that's achieved some incredible things, and you'll be like, oh God, what am I doing in my life? And it's like, well, there's always someone better than you. There's always someone worse than you. And that sounds, again, it sounds super mean, but I'm saying, like, if you're going to do that, then you might as well take the whole picture into account. Do you know what I mean? Or ignore everyone completely, which is the sensible thing to do, and actually, like, focus on your own sort of, on getting yourself where you want to be by your own requirements, not by anyone else's. And this one looks at it from a very specific angle of don't compare your body to others. And it looks at, like, because like obviously sardonyx can like rotate in bajillion degrees, infinitely rotate, and like do all this cool stuff, and like Smokey doesn't feel like she can do any of that, and then realizes as it goes on that she has other things she can do that sardonyx can't. Such as fit into her dressing room, which is a really good gag.
Yeah, it's a funny gag. That's the other thing. I think that's one of the funniest gags of this whole set. And going back to the show, that is so echoed by that message is so echoed by the character of Amethyst.
Yes.
So much of her story is about her thinking she should be like Jasper, but learning to accept that actually who she is pretty amazing. And I think there's just so many layers to this stuff.
Yeah, and again, credit to Dove for being smart enough to realize this is because when I was sort of going, really, Dove, Steven Universe, that was more of a practical marketing perspective. In reality, credit to Dove for going Steven Universe, because I cannot think of a show that embodies these ideas better than Steven Universe.
And worth noting on the landing page where all these videos are, there's competing and comparing looks articles. There's articles and self-esteem guides related to each video. So it's not just the wider campaign. The wider campaign is not just these videos. There's links to resources to help people as well.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. I found the videos on YouTube, so I didn't know any of that existed. That's really nice to know.
No, it does. So episode 3, actually, if we're ranking them and over analysing them as we are, although I really enjoyed episode 3, who doesn't love a bit of Peridot? It's probably my least favourite of the 3, purely because I think.
So this is the one that came out most recently. This one was released like this month.
Oh right, maybe this is one of the traction things to it then. Like, so this is Peridot, talking about online identity. It's called Media and Celebrities, and it's saying don't compare yourselves to them because that photos can be edited and photoshopped. They're not real people. Then she kind of turns the camera around, shows everyone the real people behind the camera, and makes the point not to view your tablet and live on your phone in that way. I really enjoyed it. I found it entertaining. I thought the stuff with the cameraman was entertaining. The reason I'd rank it last is because of two reasons. I think it's potentially one of the most important messages to give kids these days. I think you can already see the danger that the access to technology has on people, and I'm not even talking about a practical safety point of view, or you don't know who's who online and all of that horrifying stuff. I'm talking about the fact that people are bullying each other through technology, and that kids aren't learning empathy because they're not seeing the reaction of the person they're talking to, because they're bullying them over social media or text or whatever. And I'm also talking about how the work ethic is affected, because of course in a generation young people that have literally everything at their fingertips, of course their work ethic is going to be a little bit different, because they're not used to having to work for stuff in the same way. And I'm not saying all young people, all kids, I'm just saying these are kind of the reasons in my head. A message of the world on your phone, on your tablet, is not necessarily reflective of the real world is a really important one. And I think that Peridot starts this video knowing that. And this is Peridot talking about that. But the other two examples we've just talked about have people learning something, have a journey. And I think that seeing a journey and seeing someone go from one opinion to another is more effective than having someone say, this is the situation. So I really like it, but if we were ranking the Dove episodes, this would be at the bottom for me.
I see what you're saying. I don't disagree with that final assertion, because I think you're right that from an entertainment perspective, watching these videos, a story is always going to be more engaging, and therefore is always going to be a better way to get the message across, because when the more you're entertained you are, the more you're taking in what it's actually trying to tell you. So I think to a certain degree you're right, but I would say that they counterbalance that here, in my opinion, by making it engaging in a different way. So the other ones pull you in and make you take in the message by sort of having that little A to B story that we talked about, a little mini episode. This one, I think, just makes it entertaining through Peridot being massively entertaining to watch and listen to. I think they were maybe smart and knew that if they just put Amethyst talking to camera, people would have started to maybe drift. Their attention may have wavered. But I think with Peridot, I do think the way she engages and talks, you get away with it here. I think she is. I think the energy she brings to it, and that's sort of like the way she analyzes humanity is always funny and entertaining in the same breath. As being as maybe having a genuine message behind it. So I think they get away with it. I totally concede though that is a valid reason to think this is one of the weaker ones. I actually think this is one. I think this might be my.
You're a big Peridot fan.
I'm a big Peridot fan.
This whole thing hinges on.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Whereas the other ones would stand alone, whether you like or know these characters or not. I totally agree. But I think there's just something very entertaining about it, and I actually think that the message is actually a little.
That's fair.
A little bit more interesting as well than because I think you're right. That's the great thing about all of these.
Oh shit! Okay, I will keep talking. Apparently, Dan's microphone has died. We're not sure when, so. He thinks recently because he checked it a few minutes ago, but he's just about to plug in, which I thought he did before we started the podcast, and he's not here to defend himself. So, Jesus, we will. He thinks his foot nudged the wire. Obviously, you can't hear him, so occasionally you're just getting silence while I listen to him. So I'm gonna start talking about the song. And then after we've stopped recording, Dan will have a look at the situation, and it will be fixed by the time you hear this, because we will work that out. But should I just plow through and talk about the song? And my time says 36 minutes is what we've recorded. Well, at the very least, what I've recorded. Ah, shit. So we got 4. Okay. Well, are you back on now? Okay, so we'll probably cut this.
I'm back.
Right, Dan's back. We're going to finish the episode and work it all out in the edit at some point after.
I'm really sad that we might have just lost my entire last Peridot speech.
Yeah, no, that was a good speech. Yeah, I think we probably have. But there's no point rambling about it now because for the audience it's been resolved. So
can I recap what I was saying very quickly?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I just think otherwise we've lost content, which isn't ideal.
No, I assumed you were going to re-record it when you'd worked out at what point your mic stopped.
Well, yeah, but I remember what I said immediately now.
Okay.
So if I don't do it now, I'm not going to remember what I said. Fine. So I talked a little bit about how it's Peridot's the perfect character to do it with because she's the one character that's engaging enough to sort of just talk and you listen. And I talked a little bit about what's really amazing is me and Chris took very different things from that episode because he was talking about sort of cyberbullying and all this this empathy, which these are real issues. And but I took from it about body image issues similar to what was in the last episode, which is people posting these incredibly touched up pictures or just people who are models basically on Instagram, sort of giving people sort of low self-worth because they're comparing themselves constantly to them, and how that's a really powerful message. And then we talked about how we mentioned that's apparently we've just discovered the third of 6. So at some point we're probably going to do this again.
Yeah. And then I was like, isn't it amazing that we've done this for 36 minutes? And Dan was like, fuck, I've only done it for 32.
Yeah. So basically, in case I don't know what we kept and what we haven't, but to reiterate, my mic, I think I nudged the power cable with my foot at some point. I didn't realize it was near my foot, but then I looked down and my mic was dead. That's something I've had nightmares about happening for years. And it's finally happened. So we love to sing, yeah.
You know what? There's not much to say on this one because it's just a really cool Steven Universe song. I love that for something that's not part of the show, they managed to get all the voice actors, including both Ruby and Sapphire. And it's just a song where the main four and Connie sing about the issues, general self-confidence. It's awesome. I really like it.
Yeah, yeah. There's not a huge amount to say on it. I like that they get everyone in.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I think that's like the strength of this is just the voice cast. Because the actual, I mean, the message on this one's a bit thinner. I mean, it's always harder to communicate ideas through song. You get like a lot of time is lost to just having to be a song. Things having to sort of like fit as a song. It's got some good gags in it though. Like Amethyst like makes her head like go larger to like her neck go longer to reach the microphone, and like
pretends to be human.
Have a nice moment when then they fuse, and then Stevonnie fuses. Amethyst changes her body to like the to be Purple Puma, and there's a really nice moment between Garnet and Stevonnie at the end.
They share a hug
about it.
It's really cool.
They share a really sweet hug. It's just a nice video. It doesn't achieve anything like the other three in terms of like, the sort of the message of it or whatever. But I think it's a nice addition to this campaign. To sort of have a, first of all, Steven Universe is such a musical show. It makes sense for them to have taken advantage of it in that sense and do a song.
Which is what Dove say literally above the song. They're like, we could not have a song, so here you go.
Okay, there you go. And also, it's like an interesting one because they do it in this weird meta style again of like it's happening, but the characters have shown up to do an advert, so they're aware of that fact. And then at the end, like Pearl's like, "Oh, I think I messed it up. I laughed at one point," and like they're like, "No, that's fine. You do you." So yeah, it's kind of like it's sweet and fits with the rest of the campaign to the point where you could argue it feels like one of the episodes, but it's not. It is a song ultimately. So yeah, and it's a pretty sweet song. I mean, I don't know if they'll stick it in the next vinyl or not. It's certainly not the best song
put it in the vinyl,
had, but yeah, you definitely could.
Just because it's shorter, there's no reason not to.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah, it's a short one though, so it's like kind of it's nice and inoffensive, and it is kind of sweet, and it's got a good message to it. So
I can't believe how much we both ended up loving this campaign and loving these. Honestly, I swear, I thought we were going to chat about the campaign for 10 minutes and then have to stretch it out and talk about wider issues surrounding the show and self-confidence and how it builds
I think how we made it fit is that we did that as we talked about the episodes.
But not
so we
too
sort of
much,
talked about the
we
episode.
got so much from the campaign. It's brilliant. Like, awesome.
Yeah, they're really good. It's a really good campaign, and they're really well made. But should I be surprised? The creators of this show, they're smart people. They make really good stuff. I mean, I'm surprised. I think mostly because I'm cynical when it comes to advertising campaigns or any campaign that comes from the marketing department of a big company like Unilever. You've got to go. What's your intention here? To me, Unilever are this huge conglomerate that are scary and own too many things. They're like the Disney of stuff, and I sort of you sort of think of them as being like. But I guess people work at these companies and. Sometimes people are smart and creative and do really cool things, and I think considering the source of this particular campaign, I think it's turned out really well.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. Because
again, this could have easily been a cynical cash grab. It could have had, Garnet being like, "Hey guys, throw me the Dove. I never have a shower without Dove." Like, could have.
And you're like, you don't shower, Garnet. You're just light.
And then actually, a weird thing there is that it couldn't have been that when I think about it, because if it had been that, it wouldn't have been Steven Universe, because there's no way I would see Rebecca Sugar agreeing to that, actually. So maybe it couldn't have been that. Maybe there is no reality in which that happens. Smart on a clever sort of... Yeah, a clever sort of system, getting smart people to come make this content rather than trying to do it yourselves and getting it wrong. Like really clever on Dove's part, and I think some really important messages. And I hope that these videos do get shared virally enough for kids to see them. Because most of the people I've seen talking about them are like Steven Universe fans, and I kind of want it to go more viral than that. I want it to be...
but I suppose we don't know. I think the fact, like I say, I think it was paid sponsorship, but the fact that Giovanna Fletcher, who's a big figure, like she does a podcast about motherhood, and she's got a live show coming up about motherhood. She's kind of a figure in terms of like celebrities that talk about motherhood. So it's really cool to see her talking about it, and I think we're not in those circles, so we wouldn't know. You know, we're in the Steven Universe circles, so hopefully the fact that, you know, we don't know whether it's reached a wider audience in terms of kids is just because we're not part of that community. But I think certainly the fact that she's tweeting about it, the fact that Jess picked up on it, suggests it is getting there, which is awesome.
Yeah, great. And there's 3 more to come, so get ready for Dan and Chris do Dove adverts part 2.
Yeah,
we know that's the real thing you're waiting for. And don't worry about when the hiatus will end. We got Dove adverts coming, guys. In fact, that's actually the most confirmation we have of new content is that under one of those videos on YouTube it says it's 3 of 6. Like, that's actually more information than Cartoon Network have provided us when it comes to more episodes.
And I reckon for part 2 we should be really bold and record both sides of the conversation for the entire time. That's my big thing. Thank you.
You're a funny guy.
Cheers, mate.
You're a funny
Appreciate
guy.
That.
What time is on your mic now? How long did this last total?
45 minutes is the actual time it lasted.
Beautiful.
What you got?
So I had 32 minutes on the initial file, and now 9 minutes. What's that?
41 minutes.
So we're missing 4 or 5 minutes.
4 or 5 minutes. But hopefully that's not been an issue for the listeners because we've worked that out in post.
That's the idea.
Cool. Right. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much for listening. We'll see you guys next week for another one of these things, whatever they are. There's a couple of different thoughts about what we'll do next. One of them being that Chris may bring some theories to the table.
Oh yeah, well, so I don't know if that'll be next week or maybe we'll do an episode rewatch to get more time for you guys to comment. But if there are any particular theories surrounding the future of the show, surrounding the show that you want to see us discuss, please pop them down in the YouTube comments below. That's probably the best way for me to see it because the Discord is quite active now, so things can get lost in there. So comment on YouTube. I will be doing independent research as well. That isn't me getting out of it by just getting you guys to do it. But I didn't want to discuss things and have people go, "Oh, it's a shame you didn't touch upon this theory or this or that theory." So if you've got a theory you want us to chat about,
the premise of the episode is the premise of the theory episode is going to be that Chris is going to present me with a series of theories he's gone and found online, and we'll talk about maybe how credible they are and how much they fit within what the show is doing and how likely they are to sort of happen. So there's some. I think there's some interesting. I remember seeing and reading several interesting theories. So fingers crossed that there'll be some interesting discussion to have. Because dear Lord, we're talking about Dove adverts now, Chris. So
we might allow 2 weeks for that though. So maybe we'll just bite the bullet and do cat fingers or something next week.
Oh, are we there? Are we there already?
Well, we'll see if there's not another episode in between Cheeseburger Backpack and that one that we want to rewatch, and then we'll do. Next week will be a rewatch. Week after that will be
theories.
The theories.
Fair enough.
So.
Cool. Fair enough. So there's a rewatch coming, guys. It could very potentially be cat fingers. Which, can I just say, that is the first time Chris has said the words cat fingers.
No, I've let it slip. I have let it slip before. Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. It's going to be very hard to review the episode if I'm refusing to name it. So
that's also very true. So the episode that shall not be named may very well be next week's rewatch. Other than that, I think that's everything for this week. Thanks for bearing with us during technical issues. That's the first time that's happened. You know what's funny? That I cannot tell you how many times I have worried that cable is going to fall out the side of the mic.
Wasn't there an entire episode that we did do an entire episode of Nothing But Static though, where you didn't press record? Was that right? Like we had to redo it for some reason. I think it was that. I might be wrong.
No, I don't think that was it. I don't think it was that I forgot to press record. I think there was one. It was another one where maybe it died, or maybe. Oh no, wasn't there one where? No, it was you. It wasn't me. I remember this because there was confusion about start, stop, and then we were recording, and we only had my side of the conversation in the end.
No, there was one. There were two. There was one that was I thought the one that was my fault was I had my phone way too close to the mic and bugged up the recording.
And it was picking up.
And because there was a running. There was a running gag that we were even. You'd done something. I can't remember what.
Yeah, there was definitely. There was definitely one that I cocked up, and there was definitely one that you cocked up. But I couldn't remember the circumstances of. Yours, you're right, was the phone one. I remember that now because I remember trying to salvage that file for days and just not having any luck.
We can find out because I know the episode that we had. I know the episode we had to re-record, and it'll be at the beginning of that because one of us would have berated the other one. So.
Amazing. Which episode was it, out of curiosity?
It was the one where we were discussing the Doctor Who leaks and whether spoilers were damaged your enjoyment of something. Because what was amusing was that we'd had our opinions spoiled for us because we'd already recorded the episode.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny. Cool. Well, there you go. So thanks for listening, guys. As always, you're the best. Yeah, thanks to Bianca again. Good work,
Bianca.
Good work. But yeah, thanks very much for listening, and we'll speak to you guys in a week's time. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll be back in a week to very potentially discuss the episode that shall not be named, except for when we name it.
Bye.